Did the first American pope just rebuke his own predecessor on live television? Imagine the scene, St. Peter's Square packed, the world's media scrambling for translations, and Pope Leo the Fourteenth leaning into the microphone with the calm of a surgeon about to make the first incision. He says a single sentence that freezes every camera lens. Clarity, not convenience, is the sign of real mercy. Hold that thought, because the ripple it sent through Catholic Twitter still hasn't hit the shore. If you want the whole story, and trust me, you will, tap the like button right now and jump into the comments with your first reaction, because this conversation is going to light up the entire feed. 6 years earlier, in June 2016, Pope Francis made an off-the-cuff remark during a private pastoral meeting in Rome. He praised the fidelity he'd noticed in young couples living together without a church wedding, and ventured that their commitment carried the grace of a real marriage. The words were pastoral, even tender, but once they slipped into headlines, the meaning morphed. Catholic blogs amplified one phrase, real marriage. And within months, parish priests from Manila to Milwaukee were fielding the same question. Father, if the Pope says our apartment counts as God's altar, why bother with a ceremony? Father Miguel Bautista remembers the first couple who quoted Francis to him. They had a newborn in a carrier, bright with hope, certain that baptism would be a formality. When he suggested marriage prep, they smiled and pointed to a phone screen. The Holy Father already blessed our union. Multiply that conversation by tens of thousands and you understand the quiet crisis Pope Leo inherited. And the silence from the Vatican only deepened the fog on every parish doorstep. By 2022, sociologists tracking church matrimony saw a 10% global dip, a slide they tagged the Francis effect. It wasn't malicious, it was mathematical. Fewer weddings, fewer baptisms, fewer confessions, fewer anchors holding young Catholics to their parish. Bishops wrote private letters begging Rome for clarity, but each missive disappeared into the curial paper fog. Then, on Easter Monday 2025, Pope Francis died quietly in the papal residence. The conclave that followed shocked the watchers. The cardinals chose Robert Prevost of Chicago, who took the name Leo the 14th. Reporters dug up an old homily where the new pope had warned, "When shepherds sound uncertain, the wolves quote us." That line set expectations high. On May 28th, during the Jubilee for Families, Leo stepped onto the loggia with a prepared text that insiders said he had rewritten at dawn. Halfway through, he closed the binder and spoke from memory. Brothers and sisters, fidelity is beautiful, but beauty without sacrament can wither. Camera zoomed. He wasn't attacking Francis by name, yet every sentence sliced through the ambiguity that had haunted parishes for nearly a decade. Cohabitation may mimic marriage, he continued, but grace is not a decor that appears wherever we decide to nest. Grace is a torrent that pours through the doorway Christ constructed and called a sacrament. Within hours, #Pope Leo trended #1 worldwide. Headlines shouted, "New Pope corrects old Pope," even though Leo had never said those precise words. Conservative commentators hailed a return to orthodoxy. Progressive pundits cried strategic rollback, and middle-of-the-road Catholics simply asked, "So do we need to schedule the wedding now?" The Vatican press office scrambled to soften the narrative, but commentators replayed the clip frame by frame, searching for the exact second the church pivoted toward crystal-clear doctrine. 3 days later, Leo convened the heads of every Vatican dicastery. The meeting was closed to press, but leaks flowed like water through ancient marble. Witnesses said the Pope laid out 3 action points. First, a universal catechesis reboot, homily series ready-made for any parish, titled Sacrament or Simulation. Second, a streamlined marriage prep program that traded administrative red tape for intense spiritual mentoring. Third, a promise to issue a short apostolic exhortation clarifying the practical path from cohabitation to altar. Those leaks landed with explosive force in the blogosphere. Some progressive Jesuits argued the church was weaponizing sacramental theology against modern love. Traditionalist vloggers claimed Leo had just restored sanity. Meanwhile, young Catholics on dating apps glanced up from their screens and wondered whether their relationship status came with an expiration date. In the middle of the storm, one push notification hit millions of phones. Did Leo just roll back Francis's same-sex blessing? The soundbite was misleading. Leo never mentioned civil unions. Still, absence spoke loudly. By not reaffirming Francis's short-lived policy, Leo let questions hang in the Roman air like incense after Mass. Cardinal Javier Fernandez, prefect of the Doctrine Office, attempted damage control in a hastily arranged interview. The Holy Father's words are not condemnations, but invitations, he insisted. Invitations to discover the full power of grace. Comment sections weren't convinced. Some readers cheered, others jeered, but everyone agreed on one thing: clarity had returned, and clarity can be uncomfortable. While analysts argued, Leo went to work. He invited 10 married couples, each from a different continent, to Castel Gandolfo to craft testimonials. One couple had lived together for 8 years before marrying. Another had survived a workplace scandal that nearly tore them apart. Each story ended with the same refrain: the sacrament changed everything. The testimonials premiered on Vatican social platforms, slickly produced, subtitled in 16 languages and clocking in at under 2 minutes each. Fast, punchy, algorithm-ready. Secular outlets called it a propaganda blitz. Catholic Gen Z TikTok labeled it #GraceDrop. For the first time in years, marriage content outperformed hot-take politics on the church's own channels. But backlash gathered speed. Petition websites accused Leo of shaming couples who couldn't afford weddings. An op-ed in La Repubblica warned the papacy risked moral revivalism. The Pope's reply came not in a sermon, but in a surprise visit to the poorest parish on Rome's edge. There, under flickering fluorescent lights, he met Elena and Marco, cohabiting parents of 2. Cameras rolled as Leo listened more than he spoke. When Marco asked if they were condemned, the Pope shook his head. "No one is condemned by longing for love," he said, "but love becomes a fortress when it's sealed as a sacrament." Within 48 hours, that clip eclipsed the initial controversy, spawning reaction videos and think pieces titled, "Is Pope Leo the father we needed?" Even skeptics noticed the shift. Moral clarity delivered with a smile instead of a scowl. That combination made critics nervous. Hard lines are easier to deflect when the messenger looks angry. Leo looked like a grandfather handing out life advice over coffee. Behind the scenes, canon lawyers drafted the exhortation's final paragraphs. Rumor said the document would redefine near occasion of sin for the streaming age and tighten language around civil ceremonies blessed without church sanction. Leaks hinted at a pastoral loophole, a penitential path that could move cohabiting couples toward marriage without public shame. Commentators held their breath, but suspense, like thunder, only makes the next lightning strike brighter. 12 weeks after the Jubilee address, the exhortation finally dropped. Titled "Of One Heart," it ran a lean 40 pages, yet landed heavier than a law textbook. The key line every news outlet quoted read, "Mercy without sacrament becomes sentiment. Sacrament without mercy becomes stone. The Church chooses the living heart between." Translation: cohabiting couples were still urged, strongly, to marry in the Church, but pastors now had a clear, humane roadmap to guide them there. Parishes that had postponed weddings due to uncertainty started calling photographers again. Confession queues lengthened for the first time since the pandemic lull. Even Italy's wedding dress industry, flat for years, reported a curious uptick. Numbers are numbers, but stories matter more. Father Bautista's couple? They booked December 8th, Feast of the Immaculate Conception. So where does that leave you? Maybe you're dating, maybe you're sharing a mailbox, or maybe you're a parent praying your kids don't repeat your mistakes. Whatever your story, the takeaway is crystal. Grace wants in, but it knocks at a specific door called marriage. If you're ready to take that step, or just wrestling with what comes next, drop a comment below. This community answers with real experience and zero judgment. And hey, if this deep dive helped you cut through the noise, hit subscribe right now and ring that notification bell so you never miss a Truth Bomb episode. Your click keeps the conversation going and brings more eyes to clarity over confusion. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and remember, authentic love never settles for imitation.